Hello, welcome to 15 Minutes of Consulting Best Practices. My name is Maria Isabel Rios, and I'm joined by David A. Fields. Hello, David.
Good morning, Maria Isabel. It's nice to see you.
Good to see you too. All
Okay.
right.
Do
Um,
you want to jump in? I
sure.
know for people who haven't been here, we always just launch right in. So we'll launch right in. Looks like Deidre's already put something up. It says type your comments. So yeah, as we get started, don't be shy. What's come up for you in the past week or so? What questions do you have? Where would you like some help? Or if you want, you can play Stump Maria Isabel and David. That's
Exactly.
always fun. So
And
while
add to
you're,
the discussion, right?
what's
Add
that?
to the discussion as
Oh
well.
yeah.
If you have your own experiences and your own insights into what's been talked about today, please chime in.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. Well, since I think you started with me last week, we're going to start with you. So while you all are typing whatever questions you have in the comments, Deidre, what's come in from folks that sent questions in? What do we have? Let's see. Ooh, this is a long one from Kathy. Our firm has been leveraging subcontractors to deliver most of our projects. One subcontractor has helped secure follow-on business and now leads a substantial part of the follow-on work. Okay, got it. Compensation for business development and for their part in the project adds up to a significant sum. Even with this, our margin for the project is good. Okay, that's good. Oh, interesting. How much is too much to pay contractors? And should we be considering to bring this in-house? All right. So it's a long question, but Maria Isabel, let's see what you think about this. So she's paying a subcontractor who's winning the business, delivering most of the business, paying a lot. When does it become too much?
And I think this is such an interesting question, right? It's a sign of a growing firm and a firm that it's thoughtfully leveraging subcontractors to the point that they bring business through the door. So congratulations, Kathy. That doesn't happen by chance, right? For me, there's two layers to this. There's the layer in your question, which is the actual money. And then there's another layer, which is embedded in your question, which is the mindset around how much you're paying. And I think there's two elements, right? There's not really too much that you're paying a contractor, provided that you're making enough money to compensate for the risk you're taking on as a firm of taking a project under a subcontractor model, right? So if you're making good money, and from your question, it sounds like you are in this project, there's not really that a limit on how much you can compensate your subcontractor, right? If your project is huge and your subcontractor is making a relatively large amount of money, then good for you, good for them. That's kind of the financial part of where I land on that, if you will. On the other hand, there's the mindset. So for me, the underlying question here is, how does your model evolve over time? And is this a sustainable business, right? And a sustainable way of doing business. So for me, so long as you, Kathy, are maintaining the relationship, and this is your relationship and not your subcontractor, even when your subcontractor says, look, here's an opportunity for follow-on work, or here's another need that our client has, you are the one that leads their relationship. Provided that you are the one that leads their relationship and you get paid well for that, then this is also a sustainable model, at least in principle. David, where do you land on this?
I probably land in a similar place. I'd be interested for anyone who's listening, either live or later, whether you think, if you're listening, whether you think there's a limit to how much you should pay a subcontractor. So, is there an amount that's too much, or a percentage that's too much? I come out pretty much where you come out, Maria Isabel, which is if we take this all the way to the extreme, and you have a subcontractor that's selling work for you and then delivering the work, and all you have to do is collect a check, and you're profitable, that's a pretty good model. As long as that margin that you're getting covers the risk you're incurring, because you do have risk. You have reputation risk, you have relationship risk, and that's why you get compensated for building a firm. I mean, this is very much when I was running the consortium years ago. This was the model we had, right? I would have subcontractors. So typically, I sold the work; they did the work. The question I have, which I think relates to where you were going, Marisabel, is if the subcontractor is selling the work. One of my questions is why are they selling it under your banner, and who owns the relationship? If they're winning follow-on work, that's one thing, and then you have to maintain the relationship above that. But if they're truly bringing in new logos, that's kind of an interesting and somewhat unusual situation to have subcontractors that are bringing in new business for you. And then I agree, you need to figure out then what is your business model.
Right.
That's kind of where I shake out.
Yeah, and as we work with boutiques also, we see that there's say a subsegment of boutiques where they're either opening new verticals, or the subcontractors don't have the infrastructure and don't have, say, other team members that they can bring in. So they have a relationship and they have, say, some layer of expertise, but they could not by themselves deliver the whole project. And that's oftentimes the motivation to say, can we reach a financial agreement that it's interesting for the subcontractor, but also interesting for the firm?
Yeah.
And thank you, John, for chiming in. 10 or 15 to the prime can be enough for you. And you don't try to maximize margins at this point. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that comment, John.
One scenario, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So acting as in, if you make 10 to 15 points off of it, that's great. I would suggest the 15 to 20 probably is the margin overall that I'd be looking for to account for the risk side of the equation and the owning the relationship. So 10 points to me sounds a little bit shy of where I'd want to be, but it's, certainly in that range, 10, 15, 20 points.
Especially if it's your firm. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, John, for your additions.
Yeah, I like that. 10 people working and paying in 10% is the same as working 100% of the time yourself. There you go. Only you get to be on the beach.
Exactly.
Perfect. Excellent.
All right. Deidre, we're ready for the second question that was submitted. David, this one is for you. So
Okay.
Beth says the client is pushing back really hard on fees. He says he can justify discretionary spending when he's missing profit targets. All right. How should Beth respond? So client is missing profit targets and it's classifying her work as discretionary spending and saying, can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
What would you say to Beth?
It's funny, Marisabel, this is one where my answer has changed over the years. So I'll be curious that anyone listening, what your response would be or what you were thinking. So I'll tell you, 10 years ago, like a decade or more ago, I might have said, well, if someone says we can't spend on you, this discretionary and we're not hitting our profit targets, the response may have been like, oh, well, that's exactly why you should be spending money on outside expertise right now. And the people and plans and thinking that got you into the situation are not suddenly going to get you out of the situation and transform, into the solution. So you need outside thinking and an injection of change, now more than ever, that kind of stuff. I wouldn't say that now. I think I've matured and gotten a little wiser. That what I've learned and what we learned from across our clients is that it's a fairly arrogant answer and unsympathetic. And I think it might make you feel good to say it. It makes you feel like, wow, I know the right answer and, you really need me. It doesn't work. Clients don't suddenly say, oh, you're right. Silly me. I've been a total dummy now. And now that you mention it, I see I need help. Before I thought I was a solution. I mean, it's just the whole concept of that answer is upside down, right? It wasn't really putting, yourself into the client's shoes. So now, I mean, I guess the first question I would have to the person who asked this is your offering relevant to your client's most urgent situation, which in this case is low profit? If it's relevant, then you can have a discussion about how you can be of help in achieving the client's actual challenge. And if it's not relevant, then realize you're not going to win the project right now, and you shouldn't win the project right now because it's not the best thing for the client. But you could set yourself up for future projects by being an ally rather than some arrogant God's gift to every client consultant. So if you're right side up, my answer would be more right side up. First, think, is my project actually helpful, or is it discretionary? If it's discretionary, then let's put that aside. Totally get it. How can I help you with your urgent challenge, even if it's just to give you some moral support? And we'll talk about this project down the road. That's likely to win business. That's been my experience. Isabel, what are your thoughts? Because I've obviously changed my answer over the years.
I think also, absolutely with you. I think if there's an easy way to put people off is when they say, look, I don't think I can afford this right now. And you're like, yes, you can, right? And I'm going to show you why you should put your other priorities further down to do this work with us. So I'm right with you. Where I was going is where I think both Nathan and John are going as well with their comments, right? And thank you to both, which is even in that context where you've said, look, if this is really not in the path to profitability for you or to higher profitability for you, we'll put it aside. The client may feel ambivalent, and that happens quite often, where they're like, yeah, but this work is also important. And is there a way to do it? Then that's where you go, I think, into problem-solving mode. Should you be scoping it down? Should you change the fee structure, right? Reduce content, exactly. Scoping, looking at a different scope, or looking at a different timeline for completion also, right? We as consultants often want to deliver the most value in the shorter amount of time possible. If the organization is overwhelmed, then maybe what they need is a slower paced project. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not 100% with you and Nathan and John on this one. So I might be the odd person out and might be wrong. There's a certain power that is created and enjoyed when you can say to the client, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe now's not the right time for this project. Remember, they're pushing back on fees, but it's never really about fees. What they're pushing back on is priority.
Right.
And if you acknowledge what's really going on, you say, you know what, Marie-Isabel, I hear you on fees because you're having profit challenge. Maybe now's not the right time to do this project. And maybe we focus on, or you focus on getting profit up, which I think is the best thing for you. Now, if you come back and say, whoa, time out. I want this. This is important. That's put you in a completely different position to negotiate a project, and a profitable project and a great project, rather than starting off from I want to win something. So maybe we can reduce scope, or, maybe we can find something. So it's really, you're fundamentally different. You're going to end up, I think, in a better place by being first right side up rather than first, how do we save the project?
Agreed. Completely agreed. 2 stages, right? Problem solving comes in if there's an explicit invitation for the client to still do the project and still prioritize that. And that's the challenge, I think, sometimes when we're in conversations with folks, is to mark that territory, right? We don't want folks to have the same reaction you just had of saying, wait a minute, that's not right side up. Want to mark the territory first. Look, first answer is, if this is not the right time for you to do it, then we're okay with that. We'll follow your lead, right? If this is not on your path to profitability, fair. Yeah. And only then switch if the client switches.
Yeah, I think there's another mindset, which I would love to embed in listeners if you're open to it, which is this idea of seeding your future business. So don't be so focused on your current business that you're not seeding your future business. And sometimes a so-so project today that you give up on can create a huge opportunity later. And having said that, we've had our time. So, Marie-Isabel, this was fun, especially because people must think that we agree on everything. We don't agree on everything, though we're certainly aligned.
And thank you, Jen.
Marie-Isabel, thank you for spending 15 minutes with me. I am glad I got to spend them with you. And for all of you who are watching, thank you for spending it with us. Before you go, if you've not put davidaffields.com Monday Live in your calendar for every Monday, do that. That's the easy way to get here. If you're not connected to Maria Isabel and to me on LinkedIn, please connect. We want to be connected with you. On the off chance you're not subscribing or receiving articles, then subscribe and look at the drawings, if nothing else. And finally, as Deidre put there, refer the Monday session to another consultant or post it in your LinkedIn feed. Because when we have this kind of large, lively crowd and we get feedback from you, there's more sharing. It's more valuable for you. It's more valuable for us. So again, thank you for being here. Have a fabulous week. Remember, consulting is about them. It's about your clients and prospects. So give them value, give them kindness, and we will see you next week.
Ciao. Thank you.
Take care all.